Friends, join us! We have a spectacle!
Thank you for your love and support.
I give you the War Wolf!
What's up, guys? Spenny. There's plenty that is up for debate in the modern landscape of politics, but when a presidential moment has been caught live on video for the world to see, like this, with Joe Biden just sort of wandering off as all of the NATO leaders stand in a field, and Biden just starts wandering towards the bushes and has to be corralled back by all of the world leaders, who then flank him and gather around him to make sure he doesn't escape again. Well, we know that this is real because we saw it with our own eyes. But the obscene level of gaslighting that was delivered in the Biden administration by cringe Jean-Pierre, who had the unenviable task of trying to defend Joe Biden, really was scraping the bottom of the barrel with this one. She was asked by the White House press pool what was happening here, because we all saw Joe Biden just kind of wander off in the middle of the field. Of course, you can all see it. Her response was, the video's not real. Shut up. Stop looking. It's fake.
I don't have anything. I don't know specifically what happened with Maloney.
The wandering, the parachutist.
Oh, I mean, look, that was, as I said, it was a cheap, a cheap fake. That was definitely a cheap fake. It was. This was widely fact-checked. That video was widely fact-checked, including by conservative media, on what happened, what occurred.
Really, who?
The president walked over to give a thumbs up to divers who had just landed right in front of him, and if you run that tape a little bit longer, you would see what was happening, what the president was actually doing, and it is a cheap fake.
So that is what about nothing, and he's totally normal.
What I'm saying is, this is a president, right? Let's step back for a second.
So while cringe Jean-Pierre is definitely out with a new makeover, right? She no longer has the mop top. She has something that I think that can be classified as cultural appropriation, right? That's not her natural hair. Whatever, you know, I thought we were supposed to be offended by these things. She could wear a sombrero. I don't care. What I'm saying here is that she's doing the same thing. So she may look different. She also did something happened, some surgery or something. She looks totally different, but whatever. She's still just lying for Joe Biden. It's still the same lies, which is crazy because she left the Democrat Party and wrote a book about it, and she still somehow feels the compunction to, instead of owning up to her obvious lies, like what I just played to you, to continue to lie.
First of all, he did talk about them, whether it broke through or not. He did. Tim, he did talk about.
I mean, he talked way less to the press than Donald Trump does. Way less. And he wasn't out there at all. He wasn't good off the cuff. He wasn't doing press conferences. Let's just be real. He didn't do debate events.
Tim, that's not true. Tim, you're conflating all of it. That's what you're doing. No, you're telling me he didn't talk well about it. Then you're telling me he didn't talk at all.
He didn't do either. He didn't talk very often, and when he did, it wasn't very good. He sounded very old.
Maybe you weren't paying attention to what we were doing at the White House. But
I paid attention.
Okay. So that's a nightmare, and it's something that was consistent throughout the administration. Everyone was lying about Joe Biden. This was clearly an order to be given from on high. When Kamala Harris was asked about how Joe Biden was doing, famously, remember, she assured CBS News here that Joe Biden was very much alive, and then giggled uncomfortably.
Because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for re-election.
Okay. You know, I miss those days because they're entertaining. And Karoline Leavitt is out with a response to all of this, the massive cover-up, obviously, of the Joe Biden collapse mentally and physically, how bad it was for the country, and then saying that her predecessor is bitter. Man, what an upgrade. Jeez. Is she trying to do the Karoline Leavitt hair? Is that what's going on here? I don't know. Exactly. Goes scorched earth on bitter Biden press secretary over comment. Karoline Leavitt obliterated Joe Biden's former press secretary, scathing on-air takedown, calling her bitter as she embarks on a nationwide media blitz to sell her memoir. Why would anyone buy that memoir? Why? Leavitt is speaking with Jesse Waters, and she rebuked cringe Jean-Pierre's, calling her deplorable. Really deplorable. Shows like what a low IQ person KJP is. You can't come up with anything other than deplorable. Like, it's been done. Come on. Aren't you supposed to be the wordsmith, the press secretary? Without missing a beat, Leavitt launched into a 90-second blitz on KJP's character. With all due respect to my predecessor, she is one of the main culprits of the greatest cover-up scandals in American history. This is scorched earth, exactly what we've been saying. Gaslighting. Go.
One who can't find work is the same person who had your job about a year ago. We call her Binder. KJP, Karine, Jean-Pierre. You, I guess, had made a joke about, it was like your mama joke, and she didn't like that. This is what she said. Roll it.
It's deplorable. And I'm using that word on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they don't seem to understand, this is the Trump White House, that they don't work for just one man.
Yeah.
They work for the American people. The White House press secretary is not about doing online trolling.
Right.
It is not. It is an honor and a privilege to have that job.
She called you deplorable. And you say?
Well, with all due respect to my predecessor, she is one of the main culprits of the greatest cover-up and scandal in American history. She took the podium every day and lied to the press about the incompetence of her boss. And on this book tour, she continues to lie. She said this past week that Joe Biden would still be up for the job if he had, God forbid, been reelected in November. She actually said this week as well on a podcast that Joe Biden did more press engagements than President Trump currently does now. Any person across the aisle can tell you that is a bald-faced lie. And I will just add, when you talk to the real journalists, not the ones who are actually activists that pose as journalists, but the people who actually care about truth, and there are some of those left in the White House press corps, I work with them every day, they will tell you the Trump White House is the most accessible and transparent White House ever. Not only does the president take questions from the press on a near daily basis, multiple times per day, as he did today, but we also provide truthful and accurate information about what this administration is doing and accomplishing. And it's a stark contrast to what they had over the past 4 years, where they were gaslit, where they were told Joe Biden was mentally stable and up for the job. That was a lie. Where they were told the administration was doing everything it could to secure the border. Also a lie. I'm very proud to work for the greatest president in history. I know Karine unfortunately worked for the most incompetent president in history, so I guess she has a reason to be bitter, but being bitter will not sell you books, Jesse.
Oh, we just don't miss this. And remember how they said the adults were back in charge? The adults are back in charge. Yeah. Okay. What do you think the IQ is between these two? Right? What do you think the IQ is? Look how many facelifts Joe Biden's had. Jeez. Ooh, yikes. Karoline Leavitt going in strong. And yeah. Who's on your team, you know? There's one open seat on the plane. You got these two to sit next to, or these two. Who are you going for? Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's up. And when Stephen Colbert can't even stand your lies, like you have a real problem. We did a whole video on this. We'll link it right here. But Stephen Colbert just couldn't even tolerate KJP's lies. Practically kicked her off his show. And he's being kicked off his own show. So that's a pretty low bar. It's your boy Benny. Make sure and subscribe. Yeah.